Somebody requested this video, and rightfully so. Hypercar and LMDh programs are being announced left, right, and center these days, and it's getting quite difficult to actually keep up with where everyone is at the moment. The concept of today's video, then, sounds rather complicated, but in actual fact is rather simple. The concept is this: who's who and where. By that I basically mean which manufacturers are going to be participating, which teams are going to be running those cars, who's going to be driving those cars, and what series will they be running in. I've also thrown in some guest appearances and some predictions just for a little bit of extra spice. I should also mention that everything in this video is pretty much everything that has been researched and is of the 4th of August 2022. So if you're watching this in December of 2022, this is going to be a little bit outdated and is probably aged like milk. In any case, let's get into it. We'll start with Hypercar. Toyota Gazoo Racing is expected to remain in the WEC. However, their driver lineup might end up being a little different. Currently, their lineup consists of Mike Conway, Kamui Kobayashi, and Jose Maria Lopez in car number 7, and Sebastian Buemi, Brendan Hartley, and Ryo Hirakawa in car number 8. However, Nick De Vries could very possibly take a seat on the Toyota Gazoo Racing lineup. Toyota is also apparently considering a third car for Le Mans next year, spearheaded by rally champion Sébastien Ogier. If that were to happen, Nick De Vries could possibly race alongside him if the current driver lineup remains the same, and possibly even Kenta Yamashita. While he previously pulled out of the Toyota Hypercar program, it's not impossible that he returns in the future. Surprisingly, however, it recently came to light that Toyota currently has no plans to race in IMSA next year in any capacity, not even in the 24 Hours of Daytona. Lexus North America were apparently considering racing the GR010 rebadged as a Lexus in some capacity in IMSA, but these plans have seemingly fallen by the wayside. This doesn't mean that they won't in the future, but this is most likely due to reports circulating that Toyota are planning major developments for the GR010, or possibly an entirely new car. The problem with the GR010 is that the car was being developed as the hypercar regulations were still being written, so by the time the regulations were finalized, Toyota had to change aspects of their car in order to suit the new regs. This meant that the GR010 was ultimately compromised in terms of maximizing its tire performance, weight distribution, and weight in general. Because of this, Toyota might actually decide just to start over and build a car in line with the new regulations. However, pretty much everything I've just said is yet to be confirmed, as Toyota plans to release the details for their 2023 program at the end of the current season. Let's talk about Glickenhaus. Glickenhaus have said that they intend to stick around for the foreseeable future. Richard Westbrook in particular has also made it clear that the SCG-007 LMH has improved as well, and the team's recent results seem to point to that, taking pole position at the 6 Hours of Monza before mechanical gremlins forced them to retire. However, recent news indicates that this all might be getting a little bit precarious. Glickenhaus are missing the 6 Hours of Fuji due to cost concerns. This is mainly due to the increased costs of global freight. Glickenhaus is also a rather small company with rather large ambitions, with intentions to expand the company into hydrogen fuel cell trucks and, of course, building road cars. Jim Glickenhaus said recently that cutting Fuji out of their schedule will likely allow them to increase their participation in the WEC in the long run, but it remains to be seen what the scope of their participation will look like in 2023. Glickenhaus have also made their intentions clear to sell customer hypercars. It's not quite clear exactly what their driver situation is going to be yet. The trouble is that a lot of the drivers on the WEC lineup are also part of IMSA programs, which may result in those drivers being torn between their IMSA team's campaign at Le Mans and the Glickenhaus one. Although I'm expecting the current pool of drivers being Romain Dumas, Olivier Pla, and Pipo Derani being the full-time drivers, and the part-time drivers being Ryan Briscoe, Frank Melou, and Richard Westbrook to remain involved in the program in one way or another. Like Toyota, however, it doesn't look like Glickenhaus will be making any IMSA appearances anytime soon due to a possible legal battle with the US organizing body over the legality of their hypercar, as Glickenhaus, as a manufacturer, don't sell 2,500 cars a year in the US, which is one of IMSA's requirements for entry. Even if Glickenhaus end up coming out on top, I honestly wouldn't expect to see the SCG 007 racing in IMSA anytime soon. Peugeot recently made their WEC debut with two 9X8s at the 6 Hours of Monza. Naturally, they had some teething problems, but it was only the car's first race, and relatively speaking, the car that did manage to set a lap in qualifying wasn't actually that far off the pace. Peugeot brought two cars to the race. Car number 93 was driven by Paul de Resta, Mikkel Jensen and Jean-Eric Verne, and the 94 car was driven by Loic Duval, Gustavo Menezes and James Rossiter, and there's a good chance that this lineup will stay the same for the WEC campaign next year. For Peugeot, the 9X8 making some kind of appearance in IMSA is a maybe, and if it does, it wouldn't be badged as a Peugeot. Peugeot is part of the Stellantis group, an automotive merger created in January of 2021. It consists of Abarth, Alfa Romeo, Chrysler, Citroën, Dodge, DS, Fiat, Jeep, Lancia, Maserati, Mopar, Ram, Vauxhall, and of course, Peugeot. With a few of these brands being US based, Stellantis have said that they'd want the 9X8 to run as one of these US brands, and it seems that the likely candidate for this would be Dodge. One of the latest developments on the hypercar scene is that Ferrari's LMH competitor has finally broken cover. As of the time of writing, Ferrari's LMH car has yet to be named, but recently, videos emerged of the car turning laps in camo livery at the Fiorano test track. The Ferrari LMH program will be run by AF Corse, who currently run the Ferrari Factory GT program in the FIA World Endurance Championship, and it will be running in the WEC with the possibility of IMSA appearances in the future. In an article for motorsport.com, the boss of the Ferrari sports car program, Antonello Coletta, said that Ferrari would prefer to choose its drivers from its existing lineup, meaning that the drivers for the Ferrari LMH lineup will most likely be taken from the current roster of GT drivers. Ferrari has 6 seats to fill and 12 drivers to choose from. Those drivers are Alessandro Pierre Guidi, James Collado, Miguel Molina, Antonio Fuoco, Daniel Serra, Davide Rigon, Nicholas Nielsen, Alessio Rivera, Giancarlo Fisichella, Andrea Bertolini, Tony Vilander, and Olivier Beretta. However, even though Coletta wants to choose drivers from within the current Ferrari stable, you can never say never in motorsports, and it isn't entirely impossible that someone from outside the current program gets chosen. My personal pick would be Antonio Giovinazzi. Not only does he have his fair share of Ferrari ties, but he also has previous sports car experience. Ferrari will make their debut in 2023. Now we move on to possibly the most troubled of all the LMH programs, but one that is apparently still kicking: the Bicolors Van Wall effort. Bicolors were among the first ever teams to make their commitment to the hypercar category, stating their intentions to compete all the way back in December of 2018. They went through the process of building the race car, and equivalent road and track cars were also announced. However, come 2022, Bicolors were rejected from entering the WEC on the grounds of homologation issues, the details of which still remain sketchy. There's also the issue of the name Van Wall. Bicolors laid claim to the name of a former Formula 1 team that raced primarily during the 1950s, and slapped the Van Wall name on the side of their shiny new racing car. However, this has thrown up a legal issue, as another group, based in the UK, has also laid claim to the Van Wall name. It is entirely possible that the new Bicolors racing car will never race as a Van Wall, and after it was rejected from entering the 2022 season, there were still questions surrounding whether or not it would even make its debut at all. However, driver for the team, Tom Dillman, told Autosport.com that the team will most likely make its debut in the WEC in 2023. We don't have a proper list of drivers yet, but Tom Dillman has been a member of the team for a while, and has also been testing the new car, so expect him to stay around. Esteban Guerreri has also been named as a development driver. I'm also expecting Ollie Webb to make his return for the team next season as well. Should Vanwall make it to the grid, it wouldn't be the only resurrected brand that'll be making an appearance in the LMH class. Long-dead Italian car manufacturer Isotta Fraschini, now in the hands of a Colombian oil entrepreneur, intends to build a car for the LMH category, which could make its debut as early as 2023. Not much is known about the program as of yet, but according to Daily Sportscar, industry sources say that Williams Advanced Engineering will be responsible for the aero package and design, race car builder Michelotto will be responsible for the design, engineering and construction of the car, and, while this is yet to be confirmed, a production-based 6-cylinder engine will be provided by a major German OEM. Apparently, Isotta Fraschini are close to confirming a high-profile, multiple-title-winning driver as their test and development driver and first factory driver. Now, if this all happens as Daily Sportscar have reported, I have a bold prediction about who this OEM is and who this factory driver is. We know that the possible engine is a 6-cylinder, production-based engine from a German OEM. You'd obviously need an engine that is capable of being a race engine. With all these factors in mind, I believe that the engine is the 1.6-litre Formula 1 derived turbo hybrid V6 featured on the Mercedes-AMG 1. Theoretically, it meets all of the requirements. German OEM? Check. 6 cylinders? Check. Production-based? Technically, check. Capabilities as a race engine? Check. It's a wild shout, but just think how smart I'll look if I'm actually right. Now, who might this factory driver be? I had a look through a list of drivers champions in both IMSA and the WEC, and even had a look at their records outside of those two series, and specifically looked for those that you could consider high profile, and who are also multiple title winners. I was also looking for drivers who are both active and who also aren't, as far as I'm aware, locked into any contracts that would stop them from moving to an LMH program, and after a short time searching, I came up with a list of 3 potential candidates: Jan Magnussen, Juan Pablo Montoya, and Robert Kubica. All of these drivers are high profile, and all of them have multiple championships both inside and outside of sports car racing. All of them also have recent experience racing prototypes, specifically LMP2, so they're definitely up to the task. But what do you think? Solid predictions for the Isotta Fraschini outfit, or total nonsense? Comment below. And just to make sure that nobody says in the comments that I missed this one out, there is also the potential Velox Fangio LMH effort, who are apparently planning what is being described as a variable zero-emission fuel combustion engine hypercar entering in 2025. However, virtually no news has emerged from this program since August last year, but I'll try to keep you posted if any further news emerges. That is all of the confirmed LMH programs as of the time of recording this video. Now we'll move on to LMDh. We'll start off with Porsche, and first of all, I'd like to set the record straight about a certain aspect of the driver lineup. At the time of writing the video on the Porsche program, I knew that El Bamba was driving for the Chip Ganassi DPI program, but what I didn't actually know is that he was under a long-term contract for that program and would also be driving the Cadillac LMDh car, because I thought there might have been the potential that he goes back to drive the Porsche program, as he is a Porsche regular. That, of course, turned out to be wrong. In any case, a few more details and matters of speculation have come to light regarding the Volkswagen Group's various LMDh programs. So, here to tell you all about them is GT Rain.
Nobody in Le Mans history has more victories than Porsche, so they seem like a good place to start. The Penske-backed factory effort is definitely not mucking about. They had their initial rollout in Weissach way back in the middle of January, and already logged over 5,000 miles or 8,000 kilometers of testing before Cadillac, Acura, or BMW even got their wheels on the ground. Towards the end of June, Porsche gave us extensive details about their new car, dubbed the 963 in homage to the Porsche 962, which won Le Mans 3 times. Well, 3 if you include the Dower 962 in 1994, which I will. The car is built on top of the next-generation Multimatic LMP2 chassis and powered by a twin-turbo 4.6-liter V8 paired with the spec LMDh hybrid electric motor. If you're a Porsche enthusiast and that engine sounds familiar, it's derived from the same engine that was in the Porsche 918 Spyder road car, which in turn was derived from the engine found in the Porsche RS Spyder, Penske's previous Porsche LMP venture and in my opinion, one of the greatest Le Mans prototypes of all time. Porsche factory drivers Andre Lauderer, Kevin Estre, Michael Christensen, Lawrence Vantore, Matt Campbell, and Mathieu Jaminet will be joined by Felipe Nasr and Dane Cameron. If you counted those up, that amounts to 2 drivers in each car in both programs. WEC prototype programs typically have 3 drivers per car all season, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple more additions over the coming months. In addition to Penske, Porsche is jumping straight into the deep end with customer racing programs. In IMSA, JDC Miller Motorsports will be making the jump from Cadillac to a 963 program, and it's been rumored that J.R. Hildebrand will be spearheading an A.J. Foyt racing effort as well. 2024 might bring the introduction of a FAF Motorsports 963 to IMSA, with the current GTD Pro team going on record of saying it has the desire to race in GTP someday. Whether or not we end up seeing that project come to fruition is a story for another day. On the WEC side of things, LMP2 powerhouse Joda has teamed up with Hertz to launch a full-season 963 program. Additional details including a driver lineup have yet to be announced, but I would expect some of the drivers in their current LMP2 lineups to carry into the new program. Finally, a second customer 963 appears up for grabs in the World Endurance Championship, but it's not entirely known at the time who may be in the running for it. The name Proton has been thrown around quite a bit, but Graham Goodwin out of Daily Sports Car has claimed that the preferred buyer is not a current WEC LMP2 or GTE-AM team, and with Proton currently racing in GTE-AM, I'm not entirely sure where that leaves them. Other darts I'll throw towards the board right now include the longtime Porsche partner Manthey and the Hong Kong-based KCMG team. We'll just have to wait and see if either of those stick. Some of you may have made it this far into the video and are wondering to yourself, what about Audi? In my last appearance on this channel, I mentioned a so-called VW Group LMDh common platform between Porsche and Audi. I even made a video about it on my channel. Well, as it turns out, it's probably not a great idea to listen to me some of the time, because both that platform and the Audi LMDh program appear to be dead in the water. Back in March, Audi announced a 2 to 3 month hold on their LMDh program while they evaluated other potential projects, notably Formula One. From the onset of that announcement, quite a few industry insiders labeled that hold as a permanent cancellation, and almost 5 months after the supposed 2 to 3 month hold, it's looking like that might be the case. I've been wrong before, and I'd absolutely love to be wrong on this one, but with Porsche not moving forward with its rumored common platform 4-liter V8, I can't see anything coming out of this project in the future. This past May, it was finally confirmed that Lamborghini will be fielding a dual IMSA and WEC program starting in 2024. Shying away from a correlation with the Porsche LMDh program, Lamborghini announced Ligier as their chassis supplier with few other details available at this time. What we do know is that Mirko Bortolotti and Andrea Caldarelli have been confirmed as the first 2 drivers for the program, with many more to be announced down the road. A lot of people will be quick to speculate what engine Lamborghini will use in their first prototype race car ever. I'll join the vast majority and say that I really want to see a naturally aspirated V10 in the car, but I'm fully expecting a turbocharged V8, particularly the twin-turbo 4-liter V8 that was rumored for both the Porsche and Audi programs. Again, I've been wrong before, and I'll gladly be wrong on this one too, but as I've said many times by now, our best option is simply to wait and see.
There are of course quite a few other LMDh programs to talk about, so here's Ewan and Wane with a few more of them.
In many ways, Cadillac's LMDh program is going to be very similar to its DPI one, with Dallara yet again providing the chassis, similar styling on the car, and the same 5.5 litre V8 engine being used to power the LMDh VR. The main difference, however, is that Cadillac are going to be stepping onto the world stage with a one-car entry into the FI World Endurance Championship to be run by Chip Ganassi Racing. No drivers have yet been confirmed for any of Cadillac's 2023 programs, but this one is set to feature the current 0-2 lineup from IMSA of Earl Bamber and Alex Lynn, of what for Bamber will be an effective title defence, as he hasn't competed in the WEC since winning the 2017 crown with Porsche. Cadillac are also going to maintain a strong IMSA presence, with one car each from Chip Ganassi Racing and Action Express Racing. The Ganassi car is most likely going to feature Sebastian Bourdais and Renger van der Zande for the full season, with Scott Dixon yet again joining them for the Enduros, whilst Action Express Racing's lineup is set to be led by Pipo Derani. Traditionally, Action Express have run a second car in the Michelin Endurance Cup, but that's unlikely to happen for 2023 due to supply chain issues, meaning the car probably won't be ready for Daytona. That entry will most likely be back in 2024. Similarly, customer cars won't be available from the off for Cadillac, just like they weren't in DPI, and I'd imagine we can probably expect them around 2025. The most exciting part of the Cadillac program for me, however, will come at Le Mans, as Cadillac make their Le Mans return for the first time since 2002 next year. As well as the one WEC car, Cadillac is set to apply for up to 3 extra entries on the grid, with the 2 full-time IMSA cars and potentially also the Action Express Racing second entry, all heading to Le Sarthe as well. Current World Championship leaders Alpine will be forced to step back down to LMP2 next year, as their Alpine A480 LMP1 will no longer be eligible for Hypercar, but in 2024 they're going to be back with an Orica-based LMDh. Signatech, the team behind Alpine Sportscar Program since 2013, has a 4-year deal for a 2-car factory WEC entry, taking them all the way through to 2027. No drives have yet been announced for the program, given, well, it's still over a year away, but we can expect to see Nicolas Lapierre, Andre Negrão and Mathieu Vaxivière, or at least some of them, play a role, given Signatech are currently very happy with the trio which has netted them that Hypercar World Championship lead. We could also look to Signatech's current LMP2 trio, Paul-Loup Chatin, Charles Malisi and Lilou Wadou, as potential drivers who could make the step back up. One driver Alpine were particularly keen on was Fernando Alonso, and without getting into the whole current F1 driver market situation, Alpine's eagerness to place Alonso into an LMDh for 2024 is part of the reason he left for Aston Martin, so we will no longer see Fernando back at Le Mans representing the French outfit, at least not for 2024. Over in IMSA, Andretti Autosport have arranged at least a verbal deal to run the Alpine, as a part of the wider agreement which would see them have Renault engines if the Andretti Global F1 program was approved. Given that's still in the balance, it's fair to say the IMSA program probably is as well, but the major American team would be a big signing for Alpine for IMSA. The other problem for IMSA is that none of the Renault group currently sell cars in the USA, meaning that it would probably have to be a company they're loosely related to, such as Nissan, that the cars were to race under instead.
Returning from the DPI era of prototype racing is of course Acura, with the rather familiar looking ARX 06. This car will be run by Wayne Taylor Racing and Meyer Shank Racing, who are continuing their relationship with Honda's luxury brand. The ARX 06 is set to see competition in IMSA next year. While the car will not be racing at Le Mans in 2023, 2024 is said to be a possibility. The car recently completed its first test laps at Paul Ricard, with Ricky Taylor and Matt McMurray behind the wheel on this particular occasion. Ricky Taylor and Felipe Albuquerque will most certainly be remaining at Wayne Taylor Racing for another season, and while the driver lineup is yet to be fully confirmed for the Acura program, I can't see Meyer Shank Racing shaking up their strong lineup of Oliver Jarvis and Tom Blomqvist anytime soon. The endurance drivers are of course yet to be announced. However, I reckon that the aforementioned test driver, Matt McMurray, could most certainly be a future candidate for the Acura seat. McMurray was the previous record holder for the youngest driver to race at Le Mans before Josh Pearson came along. In 2014, McMurray ran the race at just 16 years and 202 days old. While he's currently not in a race drive, he's currently part of the engineering team working on Acura's LMDh contender, now armed with his engineering degree. He's still quite young, and he himself says he's working on getting a drive in the Acura ARX06 one day, and it is therefore a major possibility that we see this guy racing this car at some point in the future. And last but not least, BMW. At the time of writing this, these guys have seen the most activity in the last few days. We've known for a while that Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan will be running the BMW M Hybrid V8 in the IMSA Weathertech Sportscar Championship from 2023. While it isn't clear at this stage if and when the BMW RLL effort will head over to Europe to race in either the WEC, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, or both, we know that the other team running the BMW program most certainly will. Very recently, it was confirmed that WRT had ended its long-standing partnership with Audi following the cancellation of their LMDh program, and has instead partnered with BMW. WRT will be running the BMW WEC program and will make its debut in 2024. RLL will run 2 cars in the IMSA Weathertech Sportscar Championship. While it is not clear how many cars WRT will run, I'm expecting another 2. No drivers for the program have been officially announced, although BMW's head of motorsport, Andreas Roos, told Sportscar 365 that, and I quote, "We have, I think, enough good drivers where we are sure they can do the job over there." End quote. Meaning that the drivers for the IMSA program at least will most likely be chosen from the pre-existing roster of factory BMW drivers. That current roster of drivers consists of Nicky Katzberg, Jake Dennis, Connor De Filippi, Steph Dusseldorp, John Edwards, Philip Eng, Augusto Farfus, Timo Glock, Eric Johansson, Jesse Kron, Alexander Sims, Bruno Spengler, Sheldon van der Linde, Marco Whitman, and Nick Yaloli, as well as their 3 junior drivers, Daniel Harper, Max Hess, and Neil Verhagen. Connor De Filippi and Sheldon van der Linde have already taken part in the first rollout of the car, so already they're looking to be very likely candidates for the drive. They'll soon be joined by plenty of other factory drivers in testing the car. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is everything you need to know about all of the LMH and LMDh programs that have been confirmed thus far, with, of course, a little bit of speculation thrown in as well. Do you have any predictions of your own? Do you have any thoughts of your own? Comment below. I do actually read them all, so you may as well say something and I will most likely respond to you. I'd also like to give a big thanks to Ewan, Wane, and GT Rain for joining me in this video. The links to both of their channels will be in the description below. Please go and subscribe to them. They make some great racing content. They also make some great sports car content, which is very much worth checking out. So if you like what you're seeing on this channel, you will like what they're doing as well. You know the drill with the socials already. It's all in the description below. Anyways, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.